Hey everybody, welcome to my, we're going to call it the patch 12.3 first day impressions video. Now, for everybody watching this, note that this video will be intended that you can use this as a sort of podcast, as a listen along. You don't need to obviously be looking at this video the whole time. You could be playing a game, doing other stuff. I will obviously show you what I'm showing you, and there will be a reason to look at the video, but if you don't feel so inclined, you can just listen along. Now, I'm going to try to keep, for the most part, we're going to try to keep this factual. I'm just going to be looking over these things. If they sound dumb, if they sound smart, that's okay. I'm just going to be going over these things. I'm going to be saying this champion got buffed, this champion got nerfed, this champion is doing good with this build, stuff like that. I've played, I think, 6 hours at Masters Plus in rank so far, so I have at least a decent basis to go on. So, with that said, I don't know how long this is going to be. It might be 10 minutes, it might be 20 minutes, but we're just going to talk, and then we're going to see where that takes us. Ever make sure to like, ever make sure to subscribe, leave a comment. Engagement helps me a lot. Doing those 3 things, let me try that again. Doing those 3 things helps me immensely. So, first things first, we're going to talk about win rate. Janna is utterly dominant. This is only plat. Now, we don't have many matches to go on, so you shouldn't. I'll say this as the first thing. Don't take any of these win rates as a hard win rate. More data will come in, more things will happen, and we don't know going forward into this patch if these things will stick or if it's just a sort of day one type of reaction. But what we can see so far is that Janna is just as dominant as she was last patch. Now, what's going on here is with the nerf to teleport and now they nerf to bruiser items, a lot of people have figured that they'll just play an enchanter in top lane and perma roam, and they'll try to win bot, and they'll try to win mid, and just through snowballing that advantage, they will just manage to make their team winning enough to compensate for the lack of strength that their top laner has. They can use a support item, they can use enchanters, general base strength, their shields and stuff are pretty strong baseline. Janna herself is pretty overpowered still. If we look, Janna herself is extraordinarily overpowered. So the question becomes, will this stick? My personal belief is I think there is something to be said about this. I think Janna is very overpowered to begin with, but other than Karma, people haven't really found a second champion that this strategy can really be useful for. I might be able to show you footage or something like that, but I didn't actually play against it today. At any rate, there doesn't really seem to be something that I mean, there's Karma, but it's mostly Janna, and as we can see here, when we look at support, again, we're seeing that Janna is quite overpowered no matter where she is. So even though she's doing exceptionally good in top lane and abusing the fact that top lane doesn't scale, does Riot need to emergency nerf Janna? Well, yeah, actually they should for both top lane and support, but I don't think this is showing so far, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as fair as possible, I don't think this is showing so far that top lane is in a terrible state that needs big changes. Now, I do think that Riot was quite stupid to come in for the new live design team to come in and immediately nerf teleport and immediately nerf all the bruiser items. There does seem to be a bias from their perspective, an anti-top lane bias. I'm not really sure what they were doing with that one, and clearly there is an issue here, and this issue should probably be solved, and maybe, okay, you know, maybe it'll continue, maybe we'll start to see things like Karma top again. Maybe we'll start to see that sort of strategy happening. Now, the second thing we have here is Quinn. Quinn, now I'm gonna pull this up here. Riot said, although Quinn is technically flying fine, her impact has descended a bit across all skill. Now, they did say technically flying fine. They did say that she was being picked just as much, that she was doing fine, that her win rate was fine. If we actually pull here into last patch, I don't know where Quinn was last patch. Last patch she had a 50% win rate. As we went up the rankings, and I'll show you that. So if I look at like D2 plus from last patch, and there's obviously far more games last patch. I'm trying to find it here. 52% win rate, D2 plus last patch. So she was doing absolutely fine. So when we go and we go to Plat Plus, and remember Quinn's win rate goes higher the higher rank you go because roaming becomes more prominent. She's already at a 54% win rate. Now, she was at a 55% win rate earlier today, but obviously as more games come in, things happen. We're still only at 2,000 games played. However, I do believe that this is quite a high win rate. It would take a lot for this to average down. 54, 53% would be, 53% is probably the lowest she could sit at. I suspect that this will end this patch at 54%. Riot, I don't really understand why you decided to buff Quinn when you said she was fine. Now she seems to be really overpowered. Okay. The third biggest issue here we see is Riven. Now, unlike these other ones, I'm going to take her win rate a bit more seriously, because Riven is the 9th highest pick champion with already 5,000 games in here. I'll scroll down so you can see that actually. Kitty is just, what are you doing, Kitty? What are you doing? So we can see here Riven's at a 53% win rate. It has come down a tiny bit, but not nearly enough. With 5,000 games played, we can see that the Gore Drinker getting more damage helped Riven. She didn't care much about the health. Black Cleaver getting more damage, once again, helped Riven. The ability haste helped Riven. The Death Stance change helped Riven. The Ravenous Hydra change helped Riven. Everything helped Riven. And because of that, she is pretty dominant right now at a 50. It's a high 53%. This isn't like a 53.01%. This is a high 50. Kitty, after running around, is now wheezing next to me exhaustedly. This is a high 53% win rate, and yeah, the Riven, huge buff. Wow. So far we have the 3 highest win rate champions. Janna, we don't know what's going to happen there. Quinn, pretty overpowered. I do think she'll get nerfed. And Riven, 100%. I think with 5,000 games, I think she's 100% getting nerfed. Now, going in pick order, Camille seems to have just found that she can go Divine Sunderer, she can go Trinity. Ravenous Hydra got buffed on her. I don't think there's not that many games played, but I don't think this is far off. Yeah, her win rate went down a little bit. I'm not sure that's gonna stick. If we look at the different ranks, I mean, she's still such a high pick rate, such a not even a bad win rate for that pick rate. The only thing I can think of is that she's being targeted maybe by Riven being overpowered and by Janna and Quinn being overpowered, that maybe they're feasting on her win rate. Camille's win rate tends to go up and down a lot depending on what other champions do, because for many players, if I look at Masters Plus here, she's got a 10% pick rate. Wow, Riven is the 2nd highest pick at Masters Plus. Yeah, that champion's getting fucking nerfed into the ground. We can see Camille is the highest pick champion, so when other champions tend to be overpowered or underpowered, it tends to affect her more. Like when they nerfed Lethal Tempo, her win rate went up more than other champions, not because she was using Lethal Tempo, but because all the champions fighting her were using Lethal Tempo and they got nerfed. So, yeah. So far for Fiora didn't really care about the health on Gore Drinker. She wants the damage more, and with 5 more damage on Ravenous Hydra, that is also pretty good for her. We can see Death Stance change was also doing pretty good for her. One of Riven's weaknesses, or sorry, Fiora's weaknesses is actually into magic damage. Magic damage champions tend to shred her, so getting Hex Drinker and Maw Mordius buffed allows her to play more comfortably into those champions. We can see Fiora maintains a high pick rate into Masters Plus. Pretty good win rate too. 6,000 games played, high 50% win rate. I think Fiora made out pretty good here. She likes the damage more than she likes the health. I don't think she likes team fighting anyway, so the Star Exchange didn't particularly hurt her. As for Irelia, now Irelia got nothing but buffed. Actually, that's just true. Irelia went Blade of the Ruined King into Shield Bow, Death Stance, Guardian Angel, Wit's End. None of these items got nerfed on her, and despite what Ride said that Irelia was too tanky, literally none of these changes affected her at all. We can see she still only has a 47% pick rate on Shield Bow, despite all the other items doing much significantly worse on her. Now, if I was to, I'm gonna go try something here. We can see, okay, weirdly at Masters Plus, people seem undecided on what they want to do, which is bizarre. But if we go back here, we can see her win rate goes up significantly as you rank up. I'm not sure if that was just her getting some lucky games or if this is going to continue, but Irelia's pick rate has gone up considerably, and at the higher ranks, her win rate is up. Irelia seems to only be going up right now. As for Darius, his win rate went down. We can see compared to last patch, he was the 2nd highest pick rate, 50% win rate, high 50%. This patch, he's down here at 49%, and he's dropped pick rate. Obviously, the nerfs to Sterak's and some of these other items have hurt Darius. Potentially, what I'm also thinking could be happening is a lot of people are trying to force Death Stance on him, thinking that it's some crazy item. It does okay, but I'm not sure that's really the way to go about it for the Darius players. At other rate, he's losing win rate, he's losing pick rate, he's bled a lot of pick rate and win rate. So there's clearly something going on here. For Jax, Jax has an interesting problem. Oh boy, so Jax really liked the health on Divine Sunderer because it allowed him to not get burst. I tried out Jax a few times. Now, I'm not sure he really deserves to be at low 48%. I think this might just be bad luck on his part. Clearly, rushing Divine Sunderer is not giving people the impact it used to. But yeah, Divine Sunderer just doesn't seem to be doing that great on him. So I suspect what will be happening is as people continue to first item Blade of the Ruined King and Trinity more than Divine Sunderer, I think that Jax will do better. It seems, realistically, it just seems that Divine Sunderer is not the item for him anymore. We'll see in a few days. Maybe it's just bad luck. I'm thinking it could just be bad luck. But yeah, as for right now, Divine Sunderer is just not doing really that amazing on Jax, and his win rate is plummeted because of it, but Blade of the Ruined King and Trinity are still doing just fine. For Sett, similarly, I think a lot of people are trying to rush Blade of the Ruined King. Now here's the problem on Sett. Gore Drinker got nerfed on him really hard. Sterix got nerfed on him, not that hard, but still nerfed on him. Sett struggles because he likes health, he likes those sort of things. There might be an argument that Blade of the Ruined King into Stridebreaker split push is just a way to play him now. I don't know, but Blade of the Ruined King did get buffed, and Sett can use it, and that might be good, but the problem is Blade of the Ruined King doesn't give him a good Sterix gauge because it has no health, and Sett loves Sterix gauge for the team fighting. So Sett, as compared to the other Blade of the Ruined King users, namely Jax and Irelia, who we've seen, Sett has a much lower win rate on Blade of the Ruined King. Personally, I think Sett is... he's in a weird position. He doesn't want to go Blade of the Ruined King for team fighting, but he's not the greatest split pusher either, and he's just in a weird middle ground where he can't really do anything right. I think at this point, Sett will need to get buffed. That's my personal opinion. I think Sett will need to get buffed. He just doesn't... He's eaten so many nerfs from all his different items getting nerfed. I think he's finally at the spot where Riot's gonna have to do something to bring him back up in strength. Jace is basically unaffected by anything. I'm not going to go over Jace. Akali, similarly, not affected by anything. Riven, we've gone over. Riven benefited immensely. And, yeah, she's flying high. Now, for Garen, Garen likes to go conditioning Overgrowth. The thing about Overgrowth on Garen is that counts as bonus HP, which feeds into Sterix gauge. Now, if we look into Garen's items, we've got a pretty low pick rate on these items, but we can see that Stridebreaker into Mortal Reminder is still doing quite well. Sterix Gauge is doing quite well on him as well. Now Garen can go Stridebreaker, Mortal Reminder, into Desert Bands, into Sterix with a Force of Nature. Now the thing is, because Garen can wait to get Sterix until later, and he has Overgrowth to give him bonus HP to get that Sterix shield up, that means that Garen was somewhat resistant to these nerfs. Now we can see that Garen's pick rate has gone way up. He's now in the top 10. Last patch, I think he was number 11. So we can see actually his win rate is basically untouched. It's just that he's gone up in pick rate. My personal opinion, Garen was pretty resistant to the nerfs that happened, and he doesn't seem to have been that much affected by them, whereas other champions do seem to have been affected. So Garen managed to shoot up one pick rate into the top 10. The next one, I'm just going to go over them quickly because we're starting to get... I'm not going to go over literally every champion. I just kind of want to do a brief little overview on the more popular ones and all that, which is pretty much what I've done. So going more briefly over the other ones out of the top 10. Gangplank is pretty much unaffected, so he's probably going to do better because he wasn't that affected because he goes with a crit build. Renekton is somewhat resistant to the Sterix Gauge nerf because he can use his ultimate to give him bonus HP, so he can feed into that Sterix Gauge, so he's not as affected as some of these other champions. If I want to look here actually on Renekton, does he... Yeah, Renekton is still a Masters Plus. Ignore the win rates because these match counts are so low, but Renekton is now into the top 5 at Masters Plus. Was he last patch as well? No, last patch he wasn't. I suspect that's due to the fact that everyone else around him got nerfed. He himself probably got a little bit stronger, just because everyone else got, well, nerfed. Then we have Tryndamere. Tryndamere, pretty unaffected, to be honest. I don't think he really went up or down in power. Gwen, same thing, probably unaffected. Aatrox is down. That's probably to be expected. I've looked into it a little bit. The problem with Aatrox is Serelda's is still doing pretty much just as good as Black Cleaver. Now, second item Sterix Gauge is dead. Second item Just Dance I also don't agree with too much. But Gore Drinker into Black Cleaver seems to be doing pretty good, at least for me. So that's what I'd recommend. But I think overall he's still just looking a little bit weaker. Yanni's pretty unaffected. Shen's actually a little bit of a higher win rate, probably because the Bruisers, pretty much Divine Sunderer getting nerfed, I think would make Shen a bit stronger. We can see Malphite up here. In fact, we actually see tanks basically across the board doing better simply because Divine Sunderer got nerfed. So that's actually one thing to consider. Pretty much across the board, every single tank is doing better. In fact, if I sort by win rate, now, again, we've got low match count, so I wouldn't take these with, you know, as a pure, what do we call it, a pure statement from me saying all tanks are good now. But when we can see consistently tank, when all the tanks are doing much better, I think it's pretty much, we can correlate here. You know, correlation doesn't mean that much unless you can start correlating a lot of info, and we can start correlating that when every tank is starting to do better, that maybe the nerf to Divine Sunderer means that tanks are doing better. Okay, Mordekaiser is, well, I mean, Bruiser's got nerfed and Divine Sunderer got nerfed, so I think by extension Mordekaiser's in here with the tanks. It's just the things that beat him got nerfed, so he's doing a little bit better. I still wouldn't play him. I think that champion is shit. As we continue to go down, we can see, well, this is pretty much what runs out. Actually, the one last one I'm going to mention by name, and I'm probably going to end on this one, is Urgot. Now, why is Urgot's win rate going much higher? I don't really know for sure. It could just be that everyone that beat him got nerfed. Divine Sunderer got nerfed. I think the second thing is the fact that he can use Sterix Gauge now. Because remember, Sterix Gauge, the shield used to scale down really hard if you were ranged. Now it doesn't scale hard if you're ranged. So if you think about it, if you can go Titanic Hydra into Frostfire Gauntlet, or Titanic Hydra, Black Cleaver, what are these other items? Sometimes he goes Gore Drinker, Cyber. Anyway, later in the game, you can grab a Sterix Gauge, and now Urgot can use that Sterix Gauge for big team fighting shield, which obviously makes him much better at team fighting. That was something he couldn't do because the shield was so small for ranged champions that it just wasn't really worth doing. So now he can go Sterix Gauge. So my personal opinion on this one, why is Urgot doing much better? I think the buff to Sterix Gauge affected him a lot. Well, I mean, for him it was a buff, for everyone else, you know, not so much. And then that goes into my second point, because everyone else got nerfed, that means that everyone else is doing weaker. So I'm not going to go into every single champion here. I'm just kind of wanted to go into Urgot because I actually knew what was going on with that one. Now, there are some champions like Volibear. Volibear, maybe like Renekton, his win rate went up. The thing is, there's so few matches played. As we start to look here, there's so few matches played that I can't say for sure at these lower end matches if this is just good luck or if this is just bad luck. I suspect Divine Sunderer being nerfed helped Volibear, and Volibear's ultimate does give him good bonus HP for his Sterix Gauge, so, but I don't really want to start commenting too much on everything here. And that's pretty much it. That's my day one impressions and, you know, all the champions I went through. So I hope you all at least enjoyed this video a little bit. I hope you all watched it a little bit. These are my impressions. This is basically what happened here. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for enjoying this video. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you for this. This video is not like a super high-end video. I hope you all enjoyed at least listening to it or watching it. I hope you enjoyed that. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.